Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.
Hello everybody and welcome back. This is the Just Chatting edition number 2. My name is Hayes, I'm joined by Nick, and we're just going to be chatting about the event as a whole. How you doing, my brother?
I'm so keen that we can get into the juice of the elims, and I'm so excited to jump into it, and I'm so excited that everyone in chat is also going to be excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just keen to watch some good Counter-Strike in the coming weeks. So I don't know about you. How are you feeling about the meat and potatoes of the tournament?
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. Nick, I haven't even had dinner yet, so that reference, that one hurts me, my guy. I'm looking forward to the food a bit later, but... we've had a bit of a break. We've had like a 2-week off period now in between the stages in the competition. So, I mean, you've been keeping yourself busy, you know? Have you been keeping up to date with CS?
CS, been watching, obviously, the player break's done now. So I've been watching the EU and the NACS, that BO5 final in the NA scene. Oh, that was great. But yeah, I've just been watching CS, getting some uni work done, and I'm ready to jump into the SA scene. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, before I talk about myself, is your sleep schedule just absolutely wrecked at the moment? You say you're watching NACS.
Destroyed.
We're talking about 4:30 bedtimes, up at 12 or 1.
5 o'clock last morning.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, at least it's for a good cause. I mean,
with the boys.
Okay, I thought it was going to be CS, but I've seen you jamming CS late at night, and if you're not playing it, you're normally watching it. So, fair enough.
Fact.
So yeah, no, I've also been watching a lot of Counter-Strike. ESL 1 Cologne recently was very interesting, and sorry, just completely lost my train of thought there. Yeah, ESL 1 Cologne was fantastic. Of course, it was as fantastic as it could have been in the online realm at the moment with everything that's going on. You know, the events being split between NA and EU, and still calling it Cologne was a bit weird. But anyway, we digress. We're here right now to talk about the Telkom VS Masters Season 5. We are done with the group stage, so I'm actually going to pull up the tournament page right now, and we can actually see exactly how everything played out, and have a look at the groups, because this seems like so long ago, but it actually wasn't even a while ago. So let's start off with group number 1. Remember, guys, we had 18 teams that came to this event. They got split into 2 groups of 9 teams in each group, and from there we were going to be moving into the second stage where only 16 teams would progress. The teams who placed top 4 in each of their groups, which in this case is ATK, Sinister 5, Online Kingdom, and Royalty, they all get seeded into the winners brackets of the second stage, which is known as the Championship Elimination Stage. If you placed 5th through 8th, then you were seeded into the lower brackets in the second stage. And if you placed 9th, if you placed last, essentially, you were eliminated from the tournament. So that's sort of was the meaning of this group stage.
100%. And I mean, in terms of that team that finished last, unfortunately in Group A it was Ladin. But at the end of the day, experience is what all that matters in terms of their boats. I mean, they weren't really a roster for a long time. If you put them up against the likes of the other people in the group, you would expect them to go down, but they got the experience, and that's what matters in the long run. But ultimately, as you said, ATK 8-0 up at the top. They're sitting pretty. Sinister 5, Online Kingdom, and Royalty finishing out the top 4, which I think was relatively expected when we said prior to the start of the groups.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I don't think we were actually too far off in our predictions. I agree with you. I mean, ATK, they had smooth sailing, Nick. They played 8, won all 8 of their games, didn't even drop one map in the process. They did get pushed like 16-12, and I think they might have gone to overtime in one game. I mean, I wrote an article about that stuff. You'd think I'd be able to remember, but ATK had fairly smooth sailing throughout the entire group stage. Sinister 5 actually didn't get off to the best start of the event, if I remember correctly. They lost that match to Royalty 2-0, which that actually was a pretty tough one for them to go down 2-0. I remember they were like hovering around in 5th position. So it definitely wasn't ideal for them, considering that they were sort of like the second strongest team heading into this group, I think you could have argued at the time. Then they drew against Nibble as well, but then they got their season back on track with a couple 2-0 victories.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what we expected from Sinister 5, right? We expected in the start, in looking at this group, ATK without a doubt they're the best team. Sinister 5, we expected them to come into the second spot, but ultimately in the matches that they had to pick up a 2-0, they did so. They didn't drop the points that they needed to. But the same can't be said about Online Kingdom and Royalty Esports. I mean, there's some matches there where you would expect the two teams to take 2-0 victories.
Yeah.
More so on Royalty Esports side, when they actually ended up dropping points. I think the one that really jumps out is probably their Critical 5 game. 1-1 against Critical 5. That's a bit of a sore thumb jumping out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely, it wasn't ideal, but it was the situation. I think Online Kingdom did well to secure third, and Royalty will probably be a little bit disappointed that it slipped away from them. Then we had Nibble coming in 5th. They were on the cusp of reaching that top 4, Nick. They
actually a tie-break.
I know, that's what I was about to say. They ended up with 10 points, the same as Royalty, who were in 4th position. So they were literally on the cusp of breaking into that top 4. Unfortunately, they had a weaker round difference than what Royalty had, so that's why Royalty actually went through ahead of them. So yeah, unfortunate, but it just shows and it speaks volumes as to how close they were to breaking into that top 4.
100%, and I think that especially correlates with the results, right? I mean, obviously they drew to Noble Conspire, but then, I mean, a Royalty rather drew to Noble Conspire, and then if you look at the result just next to that, there's a 1-1 draw between Online Kingdom and Noble Conspire, but if you look just above, Online Kingdom 2-0 Royalty, so it kind of gives a little bit of an iffy little mid ground there, but I think both the teams were very similar in the group stage, and ultimately went down to the tiebreaker, and Royalty went out on top, but unfortunately, Nibble found themselves in the lower bracket, which I think they'll be a bit upset about.
Yeah, as you can see, guys, Green Soup has posted all the links in the chat that you need to keep up and have a look at what we're looking at on stream right now. It's just got all the information that you need, all the teams, everybody competing, all the groups. Yeah, it's actually quite fantastic. It's really well designed, really well geared for these sorts of events as well. So just to discuss the bottom teams in the group, Team Mist actually surprised me they surprised me quite a lot coming in that 6th position. You and I were sort of discussing whether they would be able to make the cut or not. Of course, that was when Gak was still a part of the group. Then we had the Titan Gate, and Gak was removed from the event, so Layden came in. So I think props to Team Mist for actually coming in 6th position. It's also secured them a better seeding in the second round, but we'll talk a bit more about that. The results that impressed me the most, though, are these draws. They picked up the draw against Nibble, the draw against Crit 5. They actually got the victory over Layden, and they also drew against Clutch King. So picking up points in quite a few of their games, even though they won only one, it was still enough with their draws to secure them 5 points.
100%, and as we said, the lower part of this group, rather, they're all very similar. I mean, literally, Team Mist drew against Crit 5 as well as Clutch King, so that means exactly the opposite, right? Critical 5 drew against Mist, and Critical 5 also drew against Clutch King. So that shows you the bottom part of this group is extremely tightly contested.
For sure.
Which means going into the knockouts, it's going to be some exciting Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on the money there. It was a hotly contested battle between these 3 teams, Team Mist, Critical 5, and Clutch Kings. If you look at it, it's only 1 point separating them, and Critical 5 was tied with Team Mist. Of course, it comes back to that round difference conversation. So, yeah, super tightly contested. And then, as you said right at the top of the segment, Layden unfortunately weren't able to secure any points in the group stage, but the one thing they definitely would have taken away from this is experience.
100%. I mean, any team that's newly formed, that doesn't have a lot of experience under the belt, you can take so much out of the demos against the likes of Online Kingdom, Nibble Conspire, LT Esports, and big names like that. So I think Layden, they shouldn't be too hard on themselves. Yes, they finished 0-8, but it's not the end of the world. You can come back and fight for it again next year.
Yeah, exactly that. So that means Layden have been eliminated, and they won't be seeing any further part of this competition as we head into Group 2. So this was actually considered a bit more of a group of death sort of thing, just because of the teams that were part of this group. I mean, arguably you have the second, third, and fourth best team in South Africa in this group, in the likes of Goliath, Energy, and Dynamic, the three teams who topped the group. Nick, I don't think we're too surprised looking at the way that this group ended up settling.
Look, there's one thing that does actually jump out at me, but I mean, the top three, I think we were pretty spot on
Yeah.
about. I mean, Goliath and Energy pretty much being unbeaten. Dynamic was the only team who got a 2-0'd by Goliath, actually. But I think that fourth and fifth spot, that's a bit of an upset, I'd say,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I mean, I personally didn't expect XD to finish in the top four. I thought they'd take that fifth spot, but WRG,
Sure.
I think they had a bit of a rough start, and it is what it is. They finished in the fifth spot, but as you said, top three is pretty much expected, and XD finish out that fourth position into the upper brackets.
Yeah, just quickly having a look at the results here, seeing if there's anything notable that we need to just touch on. I mean, you can see that Energy actually had the draw against Goliath, which was a really big result for them, because I think in the end that's actually what separated Energy from Dynamic in the grand scheme of things, is that Energy were able to take a map off Goliath and Dynamic weren't. So I think that's actually quite a big result in the end there. Didn't really affect Goliath's chances that much. They won the rest of their matches, and they were pretty convincing as well. The one thing I will say is that Prestige Clan pushed them to overtime in one of their maps, which is a pretty impressive feat. So Goliath did sweat every now and again, but they maintained their composure. They topped the group as was expected. As I alluded to, Energy with that big map win against Goliath, which just secured them that extra point. I mean, they started off well in the group stage with 5 consecutive wins, albeit they were the favorites in each of those matches, quite significant favorites. And then they got the draws against Goliath, Dynamic, and XD. So when the competition got a bit stiffer, they struggled a little bit more, but they'd already done the hard yards and gotten themselves into that position, especially with that map they won against GG.
100%, and I think Energy, we expected they're really up there in that top 3, top 4 conversation, as you said, alongside Dynamic. But ultimately, they got that point that you said was all important, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're going into the knockouts, every seed counts.
Exactly.
Whether you're second or third, it makes a big difference. Because obviously, we'll look at the elimination bracket later, but
Yeah.
there's a big difference between the two teams they're playing against. And I think Energy will be
Absolutely.
very proud of themselves that they were able to take the map off of Goliath, and it just shows again that the gap's closing.
Exactly.
Initially, at the start of the year, we were saying 80k Goliath, they're right at the top. But now Energy, obviously with the roster change of Mago coming in, I think it's done them a world of good. Obviously unbeaten in the group stage, and I have high hopes for them coming in later on in the tournament.
Yeah, speaking of Mango, we're going to have him on air a little bit later as a guest. Before him, we'll have Deviant from Sinister 5, so it's going to be great to have their input here as well. I'm actually thinking we're just going to discuss this group stage, Nick, and just sort of like look back on it. Then we'll have our guests come in, and then we'll just jump in and chat about the next stage for our last 15 minutes. So finishing off here, as you said, XD did a fantastic job to get themselves into that top 4. What's ironic is they were beaten 2-0 by WRG, but they still finished ahead of them because they had better results in their other matches.
I think one thing that does jump out to me, right, is XD were able to ground out draws against both Energy and Dynamic, whereas WRG weren't able to. So
100%.
that's where the points really fill in. And unfortunately, WRG, I think it's pretty unexpected that they dropped a point against OG, and maybe again, obviously we're looking at hindsight, but they didn't have the greatest start to the tournament. But
Yeah.
be there as it may, and as you said, WRG with the 2-0 victory over XD, they're going to be a bit salty about finishing in the 5th position.
Yeah.
But be there as it may, they find themselves in the lower bracket, and XD's above them.
Yeah, so props to XD for getting themselves into that winners bracket in the second stage. WRG, however, as you said, probably they're going to be disappointed that they didn't finish in that top 4. And as you mentioned, that map they dropped against OG cost them, but also that map they dropped against Ekasi cost them. Remember, we actually casted that game on Nuke where they were ahead like 15-9 or something like that. And Ekasi actually made the crazy comeback and won the game in OT. So it's weird to see how small results like that can actually have a bit of a ripple effect. And we look back on them those weeks later and say like, wow, like that moment actually had quite a substantial impact on their run in this event. Now they're in the lower bracket. It changes the complexion of their future quite significantly.
100%, and I mean that was the game where we saw Deagle Buys winning constantly, and that was just crazy game to watch from a spectator's point of view. But ultimately, WRG unable to finish it out. They drop a point there, and I mean if they get that point, they go above XD on head to head, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean everything you may think it's small in the meantime, but obviously as you said, looking back on it, it actually has quite a large ripple effect, and they find themselves in the lower brackets along with OG, Prestige, and Ikasi.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Good job by OG to get themselves in 6th. I think realistically heading into this this bracket, they probably would have targeted sixth, I think, and been content with sixth. Of course, placing higher would have been amazing, but I think they'll be content with sixth in the group, considering they took some points against some solid opposition like WRG, like XD, teams that they actually can compete against. In all fairness, it feels like Energy, Dynamic, and Goliath are maybe one level above OGs, sort of like where they can really be competitive. But against XD and WRG, they're definitely in a level, or at a level, where they can be competitive with those teams. So good job to find the map wins there. They also dropped maps to Acacia and Prestige, which hampered them a little bit, but still they got points in those matches, which is what mattered the most.
100%, and I think running into this tournament, OG, from what I heard from the players, they weren't in the best run of form. So to think that they actually pulled it out and actually finished in the sixth position, I think they'll be chuffed with themselves out of that, being able to get out of that poor form and ultimately start looking up towards the Masters elimination stage. And then obviously, I think Ikasi will actually be a bit upset with themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
Ikasi, I would have expected them to finish a little bit higher in the group. I mean, they didn't really pick up any points that they needed to in the sense. I mean, they got 2-0 by XD, 2-0 by all the big boys in the group, but they also got 2-0 by Prestige, which is also something that's a bit of a sore thumb to me. I didn't expect that to be
For sure.
a result in this group.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Ekasi probably are going to be slightly disappointed. At least they did avoid that 9th position, which means they are going to be birthed into that lower bracket stage. Adapt Esports, unfortunately, weren't able to pick up a map win in their campaign. So that means they finished bottom of the group and they are eliminated. So that is the group stage done and dusted, guys. If you have any questions, please drop them in chat. We'd love to explain anything further to you guys. As I said, just going to quickly recap. Top 4 teams go into the upper bracket. Teams who place 5th through 8th go into the lower bracket. Last team was eliminated. And we'll be talking more about that bracket a little bit later, because that's going to be the second stage of this event, Telkom VS Gaming Masters Season 5. 210,000 Rand on the line, a fantastic prize pool, everything to play for. We'll be jumping into that a bit more. But first, we're going to have somebody who's going to be dropping some knowledge bombs. I'm really looking forward to actually having him here. His name is Deviant. He is a stalwart in the South African Counter-Strike team or scene. Somebody who's been around for a very long time, got a great grasp on the game, and he's also a fantastic guy. So I'm going to call him in here, giving him this amazing intro. I hope he lives up to the expectations I've now created.
He just comes here and knows nothing about Counter-Strike at all.
I doubt that'll be the case. There we go.
I doubt that as well.
Mr. Richard.
Hello, guys.
There we go. Welcome, Deviant.
How's it?
Glad to be here. Yeah, how's it?
Yeah, no, great. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Friday evening to join us. It's much appreciated.
Hectic Friday schedule, yeah. I think
Yeah. So, Rich, how did you find the group stage with your group and the team? Were you guys quite content with where you finished up?
Yeah, we are, to be honest. At the time, we had just swapped out 2 players, right? So, like, lately and Slayer had just joined us. So, beginning, it was a bit up and down. You know, obviously, as you're trying to work with 2 new players, it's like 40% of the team. But overall, I mean, generally, we approach the game with no aspirations. You know, we are just having a good time, enjoying, you know, punching above our weight against the Titans, Goliath, and ATK and Energy.
Yeah.
So we're pretty happy with what's happened in the group. I mean, coming second is pretty good. We dropped games that we didn't think we would. You know, against Royalty and Nibble, they gave us good games, so can't complain about that. You know, up and coming teams also got to watch out for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both of those teams you mentioned are like formidable teams on the come up, you know, so it wasn't like an embarrassing loss by any stretch of the imagination. They're actually both playing great Counter-Strike, but as you say, I do think you were the favorites in those matches. In the long run, though, it didn't really cost you guys at all because you still finished in second, so you're still going to get the same seed heading into the next stage of the event.
Exactly. And I mean, you know, with heavyweights like ATK, Goliath, Energy on this, you know, teams like Royalty and Nibble, they might not get spoken about or seen as much, but they're definitely playing good Counter-Strike, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And there's one thing you alluded to. You said you spoke about the introduction to Lately and Slayer in the roster, and I just wanted to know from your perspective. They've come in quite recently with regards to the start of Masters, and are you happy with the way they fit into the roster? I mean, I'm a big fan personally of Lately. I think he's quite a solid mechanical player, but I just wanted to know how the team's feeling coming into the later stages of the tournament.
Yeah, they definitely add a good vibe to the squad, dude. I mean, I don't think we would be playing as well as we are if they weren't, you know. Lately is super talented, dude, and Simon as well. Slayer, obviously, and the roles that they play and how they play just fitted what was missing in our squad quite a bit. And you know, we get along well, and our not so secret weapon being elusive with his vast knowledge, experience, and knowledge on maths and stuff. He just puts us into place, dude, and everything just seems to work. So
Yeah,
I can't
I could
complain about.
imagine in that team, there's just like everybody just follows suit from what Ruan's, or rather Elusive
Mm.
says. It's just like everybody has a profound amount of respect for him. So I'm not surprised to hear that's the case.
Exactly, you know. I mean, we'll have situations where we ask questions and stuff, and he'll
Yeah,
just
that's good.
be like, put it down the way it's supposed to be done. And his approach to the maps and understanding in scenarios and situations, like, there's not really many people in this country that can match up
Mm.
to that. So obviously, he is IGL and our leader, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good thing, dude.
something that
Mm.
I actually spoke about on stream, casting a couple of your guys' games, is what a big opportunity this is for the likes of Lately and both Slayer. These guys are very in the infancy stages of their career. Now they're getting to play with the likes of yourself, Zero Chance, and Elusive. That's like three of South Africa's
Yeah.
most experienced players you could possibly hope for. It seems like there's a nice balance of youth and experience now. Are they really sponging up all this information which is on the table
I
for
hope
them?
so. I hope for that. You know, no, but definitely even myself being able to jam with Zero Chance, always used to play against him for years and years and
Yeah,
years, played against him, and Elusive. You know, I even feel the same way jamming with Zero Chance and Elusive.
sure.
This whole OG vibe, it's taken away the pressure in a way. So you know, we don't come into games the same way. If I make a mistake, I'm not like, punishing myself the same way. So that kind of freedom and just that ability to play the game and have fun with our vast knowledge of experience, and I don't know, it's so cool at the moment, dude. I'm having such a good time.
Just sorry, Nick. I'm hogging him. I'm keeping Richard all to myself. I just want to ask one more question that's come to my mind, and it's on that note of what you're saying. Like it's feeling really comfortable and lighthearted. In all honesty, like how seriously are you guys approaching this? With this team, are you guys like pushing really hard, and do you see yourselves like trying to compete with ATK, or what sort of a
Yeah,
mentality do you guys have in that regard?
I mean, honestly, not at all, Matt, to be honest, dude,
Yeah,
because all of us pretty much working full-time jobs.
yeah,
The only times we can practice or play are our scrims or our officials, and because there's so many officials, a lot of our practices or what we're trying to do actually comes out in officials. Um, and in a way, I think it works out for us better as well, because we're not playing CS every day. We're not tired of CS. So when we get to the officials and the scrims, like we're keen to play. We want to get on the server and show what we got.
got you.
But in terms of like practicing, like obviously Ron gets us on a server and shows us what he wants done in
Yeah,
certain circumstances. But other than that, we taking it as it comes, dude. Trying our best,
cool.
having a good time.
That's good.
The
I really
OG
like the
vibe, dude.
attitude. I think it's also really important to be like honest with yourselves as a team as to like exactly what you want to achieve,
Yeah,
because it's all about creating precedents and goals and stuff. And as long as everyone's
exactly.
on the same page, then no one's going to get complacent, because it's like sort of everyone knows what the expectation is. So I like that. And that's how I perceived it as well. So yeah, Nick,
Yeah, dude.
anything there?
Look,
Sorry.
No.
I had to ask the dynamic game. It's coming up the first round of the winners bracket.
Dude.
Yeah, let's
I
chat.
wanted to
Let's
know
chat
how
a
you're
little bit
feeling.
about this. I'm gonna bring
I
it
mean,
up on stream.
from what I ask people, they really think it could genuinely go either way. Everyone says three maps, and everyone that I've spoken to says it could go either way. So I just want to know from your point of view, obviously being in the team, being around the players, how you feeling on the run up to that match on the 8th of September.
I definitely am looking forward to that match. I see Dynamic as more of an equal footing team to play against. It's not really like an 80k. Don't
Mm.
bite my head off for this guys who are in these teams. This is
No,
just my
no.
opinion. But especially having lately in our squad who was in DNMK,
Yeah,
and then Dweezil was with us, and
yeah.
then he jumped to
Yeah.
DMK, and then we picked up lately. So especially for lately, it's a very heated map that's coming up,
Yeah,
dude.
and as they say,
And
you always pop against your previous team.
exactly, dude. That extra heat.
Yeah.
But the past couple of times we've been playing against Dynamic, I think we've managed to be coming out on top. So I'm quite confident in us being able to win that game against them.
Okay.
I'm excited to jump into it. I think, as I said, I think it could genuinely go either way. I think we're seeing 3 maps, getting a whole series, 30 rounds each game. I'm keen. That's all I'm saying.
Surely.
Yeah, just give us
It's
the
a quick 2
entertainment.
mapper, dude. What do you mean? 2-5, 2-4.
Yeah. I always love the matches that are rich in history and storyline. It definitely just pumps up the entertainment value. So heading into the rest of the bracket, I've got it on screen now. Let's just go off the basis or the assumption that you do beat Dynamic. Very good chance you're going to be facing up against Goliath in your next match thereafter.
Yeah, do this.
So, I mean, have you guys been able to keep up with Goliath and take a map off them here and there?
Maybe one map over all the scrims that we've done.
Okay.
Like we have close games, but they have very strong finishing power compared to us because of their refinement and their strats and their, whatever. And their players just being a bit stronger with aim and stuff because we don't have as much time to DM or whatever. So going up against team like GG, we know that it's going to be an aim intensive map, and they pick apart the weaknesses across the map. If they pick up a weakness, they're going to keep exploiting it. Yeah, I mean, GG's always a good game to play because it kind of we can judge where they are, we can judge where we are, but at the same time, it's not like we're not chasing them, so we're okay with the result. But we're always going to try and beat them especially because they're my old teammates and stuff as well. Like I want to be, every round that I win against them is a victory in my books, dude.
Yeah. I actually want to talk to you. I want to digress a little bit because I don't want to lose this train of conversation. You as an individual, Rich, you still got it. You still got the love for the game and every desire to compete and be a part of it.
Yeah, Matt. Not on the same level as before, but definitely I get so much enjoyment out of playing the game, dude. Like playing with a squad of folks, like just the way the game works and everything, and still being involved, competing, playing against the squads, and seeing, 80k are a beast at the moment, dude.
Yeah.
And then we get on the server and we play against them, and it doesn't feel like they're that far ahead.
Got you.
But they're ahead,
I mean, you guys had some close games against them, actually. Even in officials.
So I actually, opening a game in Mzansi during our honeymoon stage, we managed to beat them. But I mean, I don't think we've beaten them. I don't think we've managed to beat them again. But that's the kind of upsets we had to enjoy and try and achieve. So we're practicing to still put up a fight, but we're not too concerned if we win or lose. We're not aiming to play overseas or compete overseas. But if we win locally, I mean, that's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
That's cool, dude.
And you still that's you as an individual. You still have that drive, which I love.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm always going to be trying my best, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
awesome.
As much as I can.
So just finishing off, Nick, go for it, man.
I'm just saying, I'm just excited to see what Beast Slayer and Lately become after this. I mean, they've got 3 Oaks with wealths of experience around them, and as I said, I'm a massive fan of Lately already. And I mean, geez, I think this roster change that found himself in Sinister 5. I mean, I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree, dude. If he keeps hammering away there.
Yeah, it just doesn't buy the FAMAS though.
He
drops it for us now. We swap him. We give him the M4. We take the FAMAS. So the frag potential that they brought in is super strong, dude. Like Simon on that AWP and Lately as well. He just explodes sometimes, dude. It's just it's a lot of fun.
Let's talk a bit about that role change because Elusive was doing most of the AWPing before the roster change, if I'm not mistaken. So is that just like because that's Slayer's strength, Elusive is sort of molding to that? Or was it a decision that Elusive didn't want to AWP anymore, so let's bring in an AWPer?
I don't want to give away too much in the team dynamic, but we're basically sitting with 2 AWPs at the moment, with Ron and jumping between the 2.
Okay, cool.
So obviously Nico was the AWPer before, so we sort of always had that dynamic of the 2 AWPers.
Yeah.
Nico, Ron, or Weasel, sorry, for people who don't know Nico. Yeah, and then now Slayer and Elusive with double.
Okay, cool. Okay, I like it. Last thing from my side, Rich, what, because we're going to have Mango jumping in soon as well, we're going to chat to him. What is the final goal? What is the big expectation of this Telkom VS Gaming Masters event for you guys as a team?
I think if we make top 3, we'll be happy, dude, to be honest.
So, like, reaching the final stage is definitely an expectation.
Yeah, so basically the way we see it is 80k, or the way I see it, 80k GG energy pretty much sitting above us. If we manage to beat or overthrow one of them and then cement ourselves in the top 3, then we pretty much overachieved
Yeah,
basically.
cool.
That's in my opinion.
Okay, but if you reach top 4, then I mean I still don't see you like being upset with that result by any
Nah,
stretch.
definitely not.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Anything less than that, though, I think I might not be playing next year. No.
Hey. Because as you'll know, like the top 4 teams from this stage are the 4 that play at the online Comic Con series as well. So top 4 is like quite a statement, you know, because you sort of you separate yourself from the rest of the other 18 teams that started this event. It's quite quite an echelon to be a part of, if you will.
Exactly, 100%, dude. Always want to be sitting at the top. We'll sit at the as gatekeepers. We'll sit at the
I
top.
like it. I like it.
We don't want to see Deviant hang up the mouse and keyboard. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Can't be joining
respect
teams
that.
like Goals and Tools' new ESEA team. You're not ready for that
That's
yet, Rich.
that old DC, dude.
Yeah,
No, I think
With Halhard, you'll be playing alongside Halhard.
you're not ready for that, Rich. Still a few years.
I think I still need to get that in my portfolio, though. I still need to be able to say that I played with those oaks properly in a
Hey,
team, dude. So maybe that's coming.
Your chance is coming. Don't worry. But I still back you for a few more years. Anyway, Nick, any final thoughts while we still have Mr. Deviant here?
I'm just saying all the best. I mean, I'm excited to watch some exciting Counter-Strike. I mean, that dynamic game, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat the whole game. It's going to be an insane one to watch, and I can just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that, dude.
Okay, cool, Rich. Well, like I said, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to join us. It's been great to have you here. And yeah, like Nick said, best of luck. We actually going to be streaming your guys' game, so it's going to be open for everybody to watch. And no pressure. But yeah, thanks for joining us, man. Any final words before you jump off?
I would just like to, I don't know, thank Telkom obviously for hosting these events and you guys for doing what you're doing. Like without the whole ecosystem, you know, everything wouldn't be the same. And I don't know, it's just a good job all around, guys.
Well,
so
it's cool that you're also taking the time to join us here and also, you know, give us your thoughts because a lot of players aren't actually like too privy to doing these sorts of things. So it definitely helps our cause a lot as well. So thanks for that, Rich. Always a pleasure, my man.
Pleasure. And just know, Matt, it's a bit of a nerve-wracking experience. I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I was still nervous before jumping on here, dude. So,
well, good. I'm glad. It's good to hear that the nerves can still get activated, and you're not just like the Iceman yet, like the Kimi Raikkonen of South African esports. Just like nothing swerves this man.
Got to pull up that BMT and then get into the zone.
No. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot for joining us, Rich, and we'll see you next time, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Cool.
Have a good one.
You
Cheers.
Too.
You too.
Okay, so I have messaged Mr. Mango. I'm going to tell him to jump in and join us, and then we can pick his brain.
Oh, Viljan server.
There we go. Welcome, Mr. Mango.
Oh, yeah.
How you guys doing? Yeah, we all good, man. All good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, doing good, brother. Doing good.
Laka, thanks for joining us tonight on the Friday evening.
Yeah, no problem.
How's
had a good week?
Yeah.
Had a good what? A good week.
A good week, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm starting school next week again, so it's a bit of a rip.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rip. Listen, you're just gonna be a full-time CS player, and then it's fine, huh? No school.
Oh, it's standard procedure, bro. I can just dip out, you know.
Procedure. Get the 100k, and then you're fine.
Yeah, of course.
So, guys, we've got Mango joining us at the moment, a player, a part of Energy Esports, actually their most recent pickup, but don't really think it's fair to call it a recent roster change anymore, Mango. You're starting to feel settled in the team?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty solid in the team now. I think we've been synergizing pretty well. Everything's feeling pretty solid, yeah.
And like obviously you're playing with your brother, and obviously the wealth of experience that Carlo brings to the roster, especially under his RGLing. I mean, I've just got exciting prospects for Yerks in the future. I mean, a lot of people see you guys as top 3, and I think that's definitely fair to say. And I think we got exciting things coming for you, Oaks. And that's, I mean, as you can see, we see Oaks playing okay in the first round, Online Kingdom. And I just wanted to know from your perspective, how you feeling for that sort of matchup?
We're feeling pretty confident going up against Online Kingdom. Last time we played them in that Mzansi League, we drew, which was obviously a bit of a shocker for us. We didn't expect to draw against them. But yeah, we've been putting in the work just to make sure that that result doesn't happen again, and we'll hopefully be catching the dub there.
I think, I think Online Kingdom are one of those teams that are on the come up. Sort of like I keep them in that same bracket as like Nibble. These are teams who are like on the precipice of breaking into the higher levels of South African Counter-Strike. They've got the potential, and they've actually, when they're on, their game looks really good. So I don't think Online Kingdom's a pushover. They're definitely one of those teams that you have to be wary of when you're the favorite against them, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just wanted to say, like, I think going into that Online Kingdom game, I think you pretty much it's safe to say that you guys are the favorites. So I have to ask you. I mean, ATK is in the bracket above you, and there's a possibility that you guys are facing ATK at the second round. So I just want to know your point of view on that. Like, everyone sees ATK as this unreachable feat in South African Counter-Strike, but I just wanted to know your perspective of possibly facing ATK in that second round.
Well, yeah, I'm relatively certain we'll be facing ATK. Of course, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, we haven't played them in an official yet, but we'll play our hearts out. Yeah, well, without me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, since the
roster, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I
we haven't played them yet.
That's quite surprising. No Energy versus ATK game. Hey, and the Energy, the organization, they have got a rich history of being the upset kings. It's like always they just come up out of nowhere and they just seem to have amazing results. So I wouldn't even put it past you guys to just like somehow win that game and then actually just make a bit of a run. I mean, Energy are the 2 times Comic-Con champions for anybody who's forgotten. So I mean, defending a title here that you didn't win last year, but your org's got that title, Mango?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel about that game against ATK? You reckon that you guys have what it takes to overcome them?
Well, I mean, our scrim results are like very mixed against them. Like, we beat them, they beat us. It doesn't really, I can't take much from the scrims, but I mean, everyone does say they are like this unreachable target, like Nick said, but I don't think teams are as far away from them as they think they are.
Okay.
Because I mean, everyone has a plan until they get shot in the head. Eh?
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. You just gotta shoot the enemy before they shoot you, huh? And then you win the game. Easy peasy.
Yeah, that's what Smoothia was saying. Guys, why are you cheating? Just use your mouse, put your cursor on their head and press mouse button 1. You don't have to cheat. The game is easy. Just click heads. Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you're in the server, anything can happen. You guys have got like quite a lot of firepower behind you, Mango, when you guys are on your game, right?
I would say that, yeah. I think we've got quite a strong lineup in terms of firepower. And also in terms of Carlo with the experience from Australia, he's there for quite a few months.
Yeah.
Brings quite a wealth of experience as well, so yeah.
So have you I want to ask, yeah, I probably shouldn't go in that direction, so I'll avoid that. The information that Carlo has brought back from Australia, have you been learning quite a lot about areas in the game that you weren't quite familiar with before from his experience?
Not really things I wasn't familiar with, but like kind of like South Africa's playing like kind of like a 2D version of CS.
Okay.
Or like a 3D version of CS, and then overseas teams like in Australia, they're playing like a 4-dimensional version of CS. So yeah.
It's funny because that's always the responses we get back from players who go and play overseas. They come back and they're like, guys, we need to change something because there's a lot of things that we're actually doing wrong. So I'm not surprised to hear that he's been like implementing a few of those things in the team.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk, like, obviously you guys, you haven't tasted defeat so far in VS Masters. I mean, you're undefeated so far pretty much in the group stage. You went 5-3 with 0 losses, and I just wanted to see, because obviously everyone expected Goliath to run away with the group, and you guys actually got a map off them. And as you said, the gap between ATK and the rest isn't actually as big as people think. And people see ATK and Goliath, they're sort of right at the top, and you guys are really closing the gap to that second spot. So I just wanted to know, in the group stages, how the team was feeling. Do you feel like you've reached 100%, or is there still a lot more to come from Energy Esports?
Personally, before we started the group stages, I think we played better then. The group stages was like very lackluster from us. Like, we definitely weren't bringing our A game. Because I mean, we drew to XD, Dynamic, and then we had a good result with Goliath. We tied against them. But the complacency in the games between us, Dynamic, and XD, I definitely feel like those are games that we should be winning. Like, I think we definitely could have topped this group by tying with Goliath. So yeah.
I mean, I like to hear that, because I mean, everyone sees Goliath as the only competition to ATK, But it's nice to hear a fresh sort of, not a name, but like people actually thinking that like they can actually compete with the big boys. You know,
Yeah.
and Energy's obviously been in
I'm-
that conversation, so now
Yeah.
it's all real.
I'm kind of tired of the mentality of like, oh my god, you know, we always have to figure out who's gonna be second because ATK win. Because I agree, they're not actually that far ahead of everybody else in South Africa. I just feel like they've really got their game plan established in their team, and that's sort of the big difference between ATK and the rest of teams in South Africa who are still sort of trying to figure themselves out. That's why like ATK is one step ahead in my opinion. Anyway, I agree. I'm keen to see what's going to be happening. And like you said, Mango, I think those draws did cost you guys a little bit because if you had 2-0 Dynamic and XD as you would have expected, you would have actually then tied with Goliath and maybe gone through on round difference. So it was a bit unfortunate in the end that you tied those games. Were you guys, like, as you said, like a little bit complacent because you're tied with Goliath? Did you guys maybe underestimate your opposition a little bit, or what was it?
It was just from past experiences. Like I don't think we've had a loss against Dynamic and had a loss against XD, so we didn't really think that we'd lose against them. So I mean, we came into the game just a bit complacent and maybe a bit too overconfident, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's
So
also
with
good to
that
be
being-
honest with those things as well when you did like probably underestimate an opponent a little bit.
So with that being said, Mango, I mean, obviously Energy, we've said you guys are pretty much top 3. So I just wanted to know from your guys' perspective how it's feeling in the camp, where you guys expecting to finish late on in this tournament,
Like the whole tournament, like the Comic Con
Yeah.
finals as well.
like everything, like how much guap are you gonna catch from this? I'm kidding.
My expectations coming into this tournament were definitely to place top 2, and that hasn't really changed for me. I mean, beating 80k it's of course it's going to be like a huge hurdle, but it's very doable. And beating Goliath is also, I feel like it's just a matter of who's really like firing on the day, because we've had pretty like back and forth results against them in our last officials. So I mean, we can definitely beat them, but we just need to make sure that we're consistently bringing our A game.
100%. And as what I always like to say is, you always pop against your previous team. So I think that is definitely something to look for. Obviously, Mango against Goliath is exactly what we would love to see. You know, just the mechanical brilliance that she brings to the server, along with Destroyt and Panda. I mean, just an exciting 5 guys against 5 guys in the server, huh?
Yeah, super keen, dude, super keen.
Okay, lacquer. Well, I mean, I think that's all from my side. Nick, you got anything further you'd like to chat to Mango about?
Not really. Oh, actually, I wanted to ask. Obviously, you were with Goliath for a reasonable amount of time. I wanted to know, obviously, Destroyt being your brother, is it a completely different team dynamic coming back into the Energy roster, or especially playing with your brother, or have things been relatively the same?
Playing with my
From the
brother is
Goliath
like, yeah. It's 2 very like different team environments. Of course, the like team environment is set by the captain or the leader in the team, and Adam and Carlo are 2 very different people. So the environments are definitely much more different. And then, like you said, playing with my brother's also been a very good experience for me. I mean, it's very enjoyable playing with them. We've got like this natural synergy in the server. You know, you get quite a few 2vx's from us. So yeah.
The dynamic duo. Do you ever have banter? Are you better than your brother? Say it right now.
You're hectic. Can't be saying those things.
Nick, you tried, bro. It was a valiant effort, but he shut you down. I don't blame you, Mango, for not answering that question. I'm your lawyer. You don't have to answer that. We'll sort Nick out. But yeah, that was a good question. And so I mean, you say you've learned a lot. Is it something you see yourself doing a lot more of in the future? I'm not saying you don't want to play with your brother, but is it something for the long term that you would like to be the case?
Well, I
Now
don't
that you've
really
tasted
have
it.
much to say. I
Okay.
don't really have much to say on my future. I'm pretty much just taking it day by day. Every day is a different day, so yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I mean, I didn't mean like, you know, make a big commitment to Counter-Strike for the rest of your life or anything like that. But yeah, no, that's fine. I got you. I mean, you're still like super young. For anyone who doesn't know, Mango's only 16. You're still 16, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Mango's only 16 years old. I see you've been making some gains in your personal life as well. I see you've been working out quite a lot regularly, and that's pretty awesome, man. Feeling good about that.
Yeah, pretty good. It's
Awesome.
actually quite a surreal experience. It's feeling the way I am now compared to how I was like a month ago. It's actually, and I mean the way it affects your CS as well. Like you can see your focus levels will like stay up for a lot longer, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you that's always why you see the top teams in the world have also got like a physical personal trainer or something like that. There's a big element of physical training in these top teams. So I agree with you, and it's awesome to see you going down that path, and I wish you all the best, man. Don't let up.
Oh, wait, shot, brother.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's all from me. Nick, any final words there while we still have Mango on the line?
I'm just excited, you know. I mean, Online Kingdom and possibly 80k in the second round. More than likely 80k in the second round. I think that's going to be a game, you know. I know I'm a big fan of Mango. Obviously, those of you who don't know, he streams all the time.
Yeah.
Some face diamond, easy peasy. And you can it's just fun, you know. I think I'm excited to see what Mango can do in the server.
Some people break his 100 win
Look, listen,
spree.
okay. Listen,
Oh my,
I
don't even
tried.
get me started,
I
dude.
tried, bro. I only got
Don't
13
even get
kills
me
now, I
started,
apologize.
dude.
Yeah, Nick. I mean,
Never
you
forgive me,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. Forget but don't forgive. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
Mango.
Mango said he would have given me VIP on his channel. And then I said, listen,
Whoa.
I don't want that.
And then you
so
choked.
I break the streak.
Oh god, that's okay. All right, well, Mango, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure having you. And as Nick said, all the best for the rest of the tournaments. And keen to see what you guys can produce. Keep that energy name held high. Go for the full victory. You know you guys can do it.
Oh, wait, shot for having me on.
Only a pleasure,
Cheers.
man. Cool, Mango. Check you soon.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so Nick, those are our guests done and dusted. Great to chat to a couple of guys, you know, part of the teams. We had Deviant from Sinister 5 and now just Mango from Energy, who gave us a couple of their words. Nick, now that we got some air, let's jump straight into this championship elimination bracket. This is the second stage of the event, guys. 16 teams in total, 8 teams in the winner bracket, 8 teams in the lower bracket. And we're only going to have 4 teams left standing by the end of this, Nick. So let's break it down game by game. We're going to go through each of these matches. We're going to talk about what we expect. Then we'll talk about the overarching expectation. And starting off proceedings, 80k versus XD Gaming, 7th of September. That is Monday. What's happening there?
Look, I mean, everyone knows 80k. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're a betting man, you put your money on 80k 99 out of 99 times.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves with that one. So I think
agreed.
that's pretty much an 80k 2-0. I think if XD get a map, that will be surprising in itself, but I think 80k have what it takes to take that series convincingly.
I think that's putting it lightly, yeah. I mean, they're heavy favorites, I completely agree. The thing is maybe XD can sneak a map win or something like that, but 80k will... they're definitely the favorites heading into that game. The thing about XD is now you got to look at that. They placed top 4 in the group, and that's what's actually rewarded them with this extra life. So even though they're playing 80k, it's not like a tournament-ending match for them or anything like that. They'd lose that. They go into the lower bracket, into the second round of the lower bracket. So it's almost like giving them a head start sort of thing. So yeah, not the end of the road for XD if they do lose that game. I agree, 80k are the favorites. Next up, we have Energy versus Online Kingdom. Now, we did hear Mango say how it was quite a shock loss for them, or a shock draw when they drew against Online Kingdom in the Mzansi League. The thing is like I said, I don't think that this Online Kingdom team is actually a pushover. So they definitely need to be wary heading into this game.
100%. And I mean, if you look at the firepower on either side, I mean, on Online Kingdom, you've got like Corner Fools and Rigwao, right? Against like the likes of Panda, Destroyed, and Mango. And I think, yes, Energy on paper look to be the better team. But as you said prior, like Online Kingdom, they're definitely an upcoming roster. They definitely have what it takes to take the big boys on. And I think it is going to be an interesting game. But I'm going to say it right now that I think Energy have what it takes to finish out that series.
Yeah, me too. Like, I have every expectation that Energy do win that. But don't head into that game as Energy with it already being written off as a win, because then you might get burnt. So we should see 80k and Energy playing against each other in that winners bracket, and maybe we'll we'll hypothesize how some of those other games will go. But let's first stick with the opening matches. So next is Goliath Gaming versus Royalty. Now, I'll jump in first here. Obviously, I agree that Goliath Gaming should be the favorite. I'm agreeing with you before you even said it because I know that that's what you're going to say. And if you didn't say Goliath were the favorites, I'd be quite surprised. But again, Royalty are one of these teams who have been chomping at the bit, and they have been chipping away at some of these top 4 teams in the country, winning a map here or there, winning a series. They beat Sinister 5-2-0 in the group stage. So Royalty have shown that they have the potential when they're all at the top of the game. But then the flip side of that is like sometimes that they're not the most consistent team when it comes to performing at that level, because they're still finding themselves and they're figuring out how they're going to be approaching their game. You can see they've changed their style up quite a lot, where they're being way more structured in their approach and stuff. So it's going to take time for them to consistently perform at that level where they are actually taking maps off the top teams. However, again, it's that same situation as I said between Energy and Online Kingdom. Goliath shouldn't be sleeping on Royalty because these guys can hit shots.
100%. And I mean, if you look at the 5 that Royalty have, I think they have what it takes. They just need a bit more time. And we were lucky enough to cast the Royalty Sinister 5 game. And we see what Royalty are capable of. I mean, they didn't just beat Sinister 5-2-0. I mean, Sinister 5 didn't get double digits in that series,
Yeah, that's
right? So,
true, yeah.
I mean, we're looking at what Royalty have in the future. I mean, God's Not Dead, he's changed from the AWPer to the Rifler to focus more on his calling. They brought in Leggy, which I think is safe to say is probably one of the top 3-4 AWPers in the country. And I think Royalty, when they have their on day, I think they can definitely cause an upset. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if I see a Royalty 2-1 victory. But I think it's safe to say, as I said, if you're a betting man, probably putting money on Goliath, but I wouldn't be surprised if Royalty can sneak out a 2-1 victory in that. I know it's a bit of a stretch.
No,
but
I got you.
As you said with the Online Kingdom, the game, it's a bit of an underdog sort of brawl, but I think Royalty do have what it takes to take out Goliath.
If all 5 of the players are performing at the top of their level, because like you said, they've actually got some very heavy hitting individuals. So yeah, I'm totally on board with what you're saying. I think you've painted a pretty good depiction of that matchup. But we know we've been hyping up Royalty a lot. Goliath Gaming. They are the individuals in that team who we all know them to be. They're absolute beasts in the server, and they're the second best team in South Africa consistently for a reason. So it's going to be a tough game, and Goliath certainly, they like, I can tell you right now that they see themselves winning that match regardless. So
100%.
Yeah, they're the favorites, but hey, should be a good game. Next, Sinister 5 versus Dynamic.
Oh, I mean, we were lucky enough to interview someone from Sinister 5. And we know where they camp, where they stand. And I think that's definitely a game, as I said prior, it literally could go either way. I think we're definitely seeing 3 maps in that series. And I think literally whoever turns up with the 3rd map, regardless of what it is, will take the series 2-1. I think Sinister 5 and Dynamic, they're very similar teams. Very similar in the way they line up and in the way they play the game. I think the Dynamic are a bit more loose in that sort of regard. But I think that Sinister 5, they've got the experience, and they can definitely take the series on that day.
To me, this actually feels like maybe the most 50-50 match in South African Counter-Strike at the moment. I'm sitting here trying to actually pick a favorite, and like I'm really struggling to come up with one because I just break down the players on each team. I actually feel like Sinister 5's teamwork is probably going to be better than Dynamics, but I think that Dynamic have a higher skill ceiling when it comes to their individual players. So there's that compensation, that push and pull on each team. I agree. That's going to be a 3-mapper. We're going to have overtimes. That's going to be a hell of a game. I'm really looking forward to that. I don't even want to put it on you to ask you to pick who you think's going to win, because I would hate that question being posed to me. So I'll let you off the hook for this one.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if we see overtime in the 3rd map decider. Yeah, I'll put it that way. So I mean, I'm excited to see.
They also have quite a nice overlapping map pool. Like they both really like Inferno. They both really like Nuke. So like really, this is nearly as 50-50 as it gets.
100%. And
okay.
I mean, whoever loses that game, they don't want to be in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to jump into now, right?
Exactly. That's
the teams in the lower bracket. There's definitely ones that could cause upsets.
OG Anarchy versus Critical 5 as the first match in the lower bracket. Nick, what do you think of that game?
I mean, they had a previous encounter in the Glacier Winter Cup where OG were actually able to come out on top against Critical 5. So I think on paper, OG win that game. Critical 5 have recently changed IGLs from Deza to Vaynant, so that is something to keep in mind. So maybe they are going through a bit of a rough patch now, but maybe they can ripen by the time the ninth comes around. And I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's one, again, BO3s could go either way. I think we are going to see 3 maps once again, but it really could go either way. I think it's very similar to the map prior. Like, we're not talking about the same sort of skill level, but I think the teams are very equal in that sort of regard. I think OG can definitely take it. The same can be said about Critical 5.
I agree with you completely. I think this is a very 50-50 matchup, and it's tough to split these two teams. And those normally make for some entertaining matches when the teams are so closely contested. So tough to split that game. Nibble versus Ekasi. Now, this is a game where coming off of the group stage has changed the way I feel about it a bit more. I probably always would have had Nibble as the slight favorites, but now I've probably got them as a bit more than slight favorites heading into this match, I think, considering the performance we saw out of both of these teams in the group stage.
100%, and I think that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, Ikasi, they weren't really able to string a good couple of results together in the group stage. I think the opposite can be said about Nibble. I mean, they took OK they drew against OK, they drew against Royalty, they had very good games against other teams in the group, and I think Ikasi, the same can't be said about them, right? So I think definitely Nibble are going into that match favorites, but as we said prior, Ikasi, they're one of the teams where we didn't expect them to do as badly as they did. So that's definitely something that will be in the back of Nibble Conspire's minds. Like, listen, it's Ikasi. They do know what they're doing to a certain extent. And I think Nibble definitely not going to take that match lightly. But I'd say that Nibble are definitely favorites to maybe even take a 2-0 victory in that series. I'm quite a fan of how they play Counter-Strike, Frozen, Mokhmat, Rogues being behind the wheel in the IGL role. I think they've definitely got what it takes to take that series 2-0. And see who they face in the next round of the low brackets.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with you. Got Nibble as favorites. I want to say like 65-35, maybe like 60-40 split. But yeah,
agreed.
But then again, as you did punt, Ekasi do have the potential to actually pop off. They've got that almost like that team. That team narrative where it's like when everything really works for them, they actually look like a very solid team, but it just seems like they aren't consistently able to put up that side of them. So if they do bring their A game, again, that could be a very close game. And remember, we're in the lower bracket, which always means there's that extra element of stress and pressure on the occasion. Lose the series, you're eliminated from the tournament. So that's definitely going to be weighing on the teams, and it always tends to even out the game a bit more, just because the team who is the favorites has more pressure on their shoulders than the team who is the underdog and can play a bit more stress-free Counter-Strike.
Definitely, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we've got these teams fighting for their life in the tournaments. Of course, yes, you want to go further on, and yes, there's that idea of getting your hands on the dollar money.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that sort of regard, I think Nibble, they definitely got what it takes to take out Ikasi, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 2-0. But as you said prior, Ikasi, they've got what it takes, and it could really be an upset. But I doubt that will happen. But you never know. The 9th of September, we'll wait after that.
All right, next match after that is Team Mist versus Prestige Clan. Now, this is quite an enigma of a game. I'm not like fully fluent with either of these teams. They both actually had a fairly impressive run considering the context of the group, I would say. And I think this was actually another fairly evenly matchup between an even matchup between these two teams. I actually don't even want to go out and say who I think is going to be a favorite. I saw Prestige Clan take Goliath Gaming to overtime in one map, and that's really impressive, and you don't really want to put too much weight on one result, but it's definitely got me maybe edging towards them.
It definitely gives you an idea, right? I mean, we've spoken about Goliath as this definitely top 3, top 4 team, and if you have a team like Prestige who are seen as sort of underdogs with regards to every sort of match that they played in the groups, if they can take Goliath to overtime regardless of a map, the fact that they took Goliath to overtime, it shows you that they've got what it takes. So again, as you said, I'm going with you. I'm not completely fluent with both these teams.
Yeah.
With both these rosters, I just know Prestige. They've got Dark Legacy, Split Second. Those are two heavy hitters. Split Second on the AWP. He's got 15,000 hours on this game.
My guy. So, I'm so glad to actually see him competing in an event or something like that, because I've always just been destroyed by him in matchmaking games. So. It's like, finally, get off the matchmaking servers and go and do something with your talent, please.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm inclined to go.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm inclined to
Yeah.
go with Prestige Clan as well. Just looking at the group stages, just seeing the results for both of these teams, getting a quick breakdown. But yeah, let's go back into the bracket.
The Rabbits.
So, White
against
Rabbit Gaming
Clutch.
versus Clutch Kings. Now, this is one of the more one-sided of the lower bracket games. In fact, of the matches in general in the opening games. WRG not going to be too content to find themselves in the lower bracket. However, they do still have a chance in this tournament, and I definitely think they're going to be fancying themselves against Clutch Kings.
100%. I think, as you said, it's one of the more one-sided fixtures in the lower brackets throughout the tournaments as a whole. And I mean, I definitely put money on White Rabbits. I think it's pretty much 95-5 with that regard. I think
Yeah.
WRG, they've got what it takes. I think it will be. I don't want to say it will be a stomp, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a stomp. I don't want to beat around the bush with that one.
Yeah, it's important not to.
WRG,
You don't want to
yeah.
paint false narratives. The thing about Clutch Kings is these individuals, when you go back in time, like these guys were competing against the likes of WRG when they were playing for XTC, and they were straight up like 50-50. But I don't think Clutch Kings are putting nearly as much time in the game as WRG are. And yeah, I think WRG actually owe it to themselves to dominate that game, just so they can prove themselves that, all right, guys, we can still make a run of this. We win this, we play against either Team Mist or Prestige. That's another game we should actually get the W in. They'll fancy themselves against either Nibble or Ekasi. So there's definitely still a world in which WRG make a run here in this competition.
100%. And I mean, in terms of the Clutch Kings camp, you got like Zin and Crick against like Custom and Zio, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fair to say with the more experience on either of those sides. So
and the duos.
Yeah, exactly. And I still very much favor WRG, and they can definitely make a run in the tournament, as you said. I see them being favorites if they do win that game. I see them being favorites once again against the likes of Mist or Prestige, the winner of that game.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely something. Oh, they actually faced the losers of 1.3. Never mind. Oh, they play Goliath or Royalty. That's going to be a bit of a tough one. But I mean,
that's going to be like their first really tough game.
100%. But they still have that opportunity to make a run in the tournament. Definitely, as you said.
Yeah. Okay, so that concludes our predictions for the second stage, the championship elimination stage. As you guys can see the bracket on your screen right now. So just using my cursor, I'm going to point out the games which will actually be played in conjunction with Comic-Con Online. You can just see by the dates, the 24th of September, that is the winner bracket final. That is the first game we will have for Comic-Con. After that, we're going to be going to the lower bracket round 5 match. From there, we go into the lower bracket final, and then we have the grand final. And those are the 4 matches which will make up Comic-Con Online of the Telkom VS Gaming Masters Season 5. Remember, there are 16 teams in total competing in this round of the tournament, and only 4 teams will progress to the next round of the tournament. Nick, the final prediction I want from you, who are the 4 teams who will be reaching the next stage? Go.
Ooh, okay. 80k. I think that's safe to say. I think it's a bit tough, but I think Energy. I think even if they do find themselves in the lower bracket after they face 80k, I think they still have quite a strong showing. Just with regards to the firepower they have on the server. So I think that's also one to keep in mind. I think 80k Energy. I think Goliath. I think it's safe to say as well. And then I think the last one, I'm gonna put my neck out there.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna see some upsets.
Okay.
So I think it will be between Royalty and Sinister 5.
Okay. It's funny because I actually had Royalty in the back of my mind as well, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be shocked if Royalty made it, and it's kind of fun to make a bit of an upset prediction as well. Like, you don't want to just go with the 4 obvious choices. So I like that. The top 3, it's pretty tough to argue those and dispute those. I think if you'd asked anybody who's familiar with the South African Counter-Strike scene, those are the first 3 answers they would have given you. But after that, the door's fairly open at that point, and I'm gonna go with you on that. I'm gonna say I think Royalty are gonna reach the top 4 of this event.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited
I'm
to
gonna
watch
go for
the
it.
Counter-Strike.
What's on the line, guys? 210,000 rand. Here's the prize breakdown right here in front of you. First place 100k. If you reach top 4, you guarantee 10,000 rand at the bare minimum already done on your plate.
That's
So,
very, very nice. That's
yeah.
nice petrol money.
And remember, the winner of the winner bracket final receives an extra 7,000 rand as well. That's sort of the incentive for winning the winner bracket match, because I don't think there's actually a map advantage for the team who came through the winner bracket in the grand final, which will be a best of 5. So that is the incentive. Nick, on camera for the final time this evening. Any final words as we come to the conclusion of the show?
Oh, I'm just saying, you guys have got to hit the follow button and keep up to date over on Twitter. Me, at Hayes Castings for Matt and at Nick Bart for myself, and we'll be keeping up to date for what's going to be cracking in the later stages of the tournaments. I'm just excited to watch some Counter-Strike in the coming weeks. For those of you who don't know, we start on Monday, the 8th of September rather. That's when we'll be jumping into the first game, and I'm just excited to jump into that.
Yeah, you and me both, man. So
7th, rather, not the 8th.
Yeah, it will be the 7th, which is Monday. That's okay, man. That's totally fine. So I just posted the link in chat, guys, for anybody who wants to have a look at the tournament page and you want to just keep up to date yourself. You can have a look at the schedule, the teams competing, the breakdown of the event, the results that happened in the past, the games that are still to come. You can have a look at the rosters of each of the teams. You can do anything you want when it comes to this event. So jump onto that website if you do want to have a look. From myself, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you and just bringing you guys all this information. I'm super excited to be jumping into the games as well. So yeah, on that final note, make sure you join us. It's going to be the 7th of September. Today is Friday. That's Monday, 8 p.m. sharp. We are going to be jumping into our matches. Is it 8 p.m.? I think it even says there on the schedule. Here's me asking questions. It is, right? Okay, cool. 8 p.m. sharp. We will be bringing you Sinister Fire, Online Kingdom versus Energy Esports as our first match of the second stage. Guys, my name is Hayes. I've been joined by Nix. Thank you so much for joining us. Shout out to the Telkom as well for making this all a reality. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Stay safe. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Cheers.